Hi, everybody. Welcome to week one. I'm excited to teach you guys this week about graphic design and about human-centered design, which is another aspect of graphic design. They all tie together. So, at the end of this lecture, you are going to have some very short videos to watch, and then you are, for your homework, going to have to send me an email and answer some questions about those videos so that I know that you actually watch them. All right, all of it is spelled out at the end of the lecture. No worries at all. If you have any questions or you're unclear about anything, don't hesitate to send me an email and ask for clarification. All right, very good. So let's get started. Okay, welcome to week one, graphic design and human-centered design. As always, this is my email. If you need to reach me for any reason or ask for any help, or you have a question you need to ask me, just send me an email and I will be happy to help you out. All right, so let's start with graphic design. Now, when I talk to you about what I was going to teach you in this class, one of the main things I want to teach you is to think like a designer. Even if you are not going to be a designer out in the real world, chances are really good you're going to have to sit at a table with people who are designers. And if you speak their language, you are that much more valuable and you are that much more effective as a team player. All right, so think like a designer. That entails me giving you the skills of visual and critical thinking and giving you a design vocabulary. So let's talk about the big thing, graphic design. What is graphic design? Graphic design is visual communication. 90% of the information that comes into your brain is visual. Graphic design is also the structure and organization of that information. And it helps the viewer quickly see what is important, what's on sale, where do they need to go next, where do they click to buy this product, how do they like this post, whatever it is. We need to help the viewer quickly see what it is we want them to do next. And we do that by using visual and typographic components, and we can get people to start or stop doing something, such as this, or this. Graphic design is visual communication. Now, I will be willing to bet a lot of you have done some traveling, and I'll bet even more of you have gone outside of the country by now. So when you travel abroad, there are certain things that when you see them, they are universal, and you understand that when you see these symbols, you know what they mean. You don't have to even have the language that goes with it. This symbol always makes me really happy when I'm traveling. So everything that is not made by nature is designed by someone. And it could be the basic things like book covers or magazines or newspapers, road signs. But think about when you go into the grocery store, department store, any product that you see on the shelf, somebody designed that. Somebody made that with typographic and visual components. Websites, apps, programs on your phone, objects that you use every day, like a remote. Somebody designed that to fit in your hand, to put certain buttons of certain sizes, to group things together so that it made it easy for you to use that device. Graphic design is visual communication. Now, we're going to talk about why this works. But before I do that, I just want to take a moment, because every semester I see faces out in the crowd, and I know we're online, but I can still see your faces, and I know that there are some of you who are doing this, who are thinking, oh Lord, I don't have any artistic ability whatsoever. I can't draw. I'm not creative. I'm going to have to do sketches. Oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? You know what? You are smart because you're in college, and I am going to teach you what it is you have to do. You don't have to be a good artist. You have to be smart, and you have to think like a designer. So trust me, all together, we can do it. Now, one of the reasons I know that you can do it is because you are already fluent in a language, and I'll bet you're not even aware of it, and that is the language of deciphering images. Let me show you what I mean. Look at these three words: college, shopping, music. What makes language powerful is that you can take a very complex idea and communicate it in a very simple, efficient form. College, shopping, music. These images represent exactly the same ideas, but you know when you look at the hat, it doesn't represent the graduation ceremony, but it represents the entire college experience. Same with the shopping, same with the music. All right, now let's look at this. Deciphering an image like this actually takes quite a bit of intellectual effort. But nobody taught you how to do it. You just know. So, how do we make that ability work for us as designers? The more an image is etched into your consciousness, the fewer details we need to have an emotional reaction. So, this object has few details beyond shapes and colors, but it is recognizable and it can evoke an emotional reaction. So designers have to have a good understanding of the visual vocabulary of your target audience. What is going to appeal to them? What is going to get their attention? If you understand how they work, what is important to them, what they respond to, then you can use those elements when you design things, and you will get an effective response. So let's look at this one. Now, why does an image like this work? It works because we as readers or viewers are incredibly good at filling in the blanks. We fill in that negative space. So instead of drawing an actual object like a face, your mind is going to fill in the blanks and project a face where there really isn't one. Now this is very similar, but by adding two more colors, instead of just a black and white, we're getting more of a 3D type of illusion because our minds are filling in the blanks and we understand what it is we're looking at. See? Graphic design, visual communication. All right, visual communication can take many forms, like trying to get people not to go speeding through a parking lot. We can put up a sign. We can make it easy for people to know where to click to begin an online survey, or if you're negotiating public transportation. So, before you start any project, you have to ask yourself three things. Number one, who is your target audience? What are you trying to communicate? And how do you communicate that? All right. Now, let's take a look at this. Here's another cover. As you can see, I like the New Yorker. They do really good illustrations. So, let's talk about the who. This is the New Yorker. Who is the target audience? They are people that like to read about politics and foreign affairs, business and technology, popular culture and the arts, humor, fiction, poetry, and of course, cartoons. We are targeting people who read the New Yorker magazine. So, what is it that we are trying to communicate? We are trying to, with that cover art, the big overarching storyline in that particular issue is women in the tech industry. So the third question is, how do we communicate that? So they did an illustration about math and science and starting to teach girls at a younger age, not waiting until they get in college. You have to start when they're still in grade school. And when we look at the illustration again, because it is about math, science, technology, they are using ones and zeros on their hopscotch thing, which is binary code. So this illustration about women in the tech industry suddenly makes a lot more sense now that you see that. Design is problem solving. All right, so in that realm of problem solving with design is something called human-centered design. Now, some of you may have heard about this, some of you may not. That takes on a lot of different forms, but a lot of the design that we do may very well have some human-centered design aspects to it. Human-centered design, the definition is a creative approach to problem solving that starts with the people you're designing for and ends with new solutions that are tailor-made to suit their needs. When you're designing, you have to analyze the problem before you start creating the solution. So if we understand what the issues are that our human users are doing with a product, then we as designers can kind of get out in front of that and think, ooh, you know what would be better is this. What would make this easier is this, or more comfortable to hold or sit on or whatever it is. One of the major projects that we do, and it's the last one we do, is called the UX UI app project. Now, we do it with an app, but when you hear the term UX UI, UX stands for user experience, and UI stands for user interface. Now, some of you may have heard this already, and some of you may have never heard of it. So let's go over what that is. Let's start with user interface. When you interface with something, that is somebody using something, interacting with it. So that deals with the technical aspects of a product, using your product. And this is the example I always like to use when I'm explaining this to people that don't understand what user interface and user experience are all about. The glass ketchup bottles, that is user interface. So you have to take the cap off, you have to turn it over, hold it at a certain angle, pound it to get the ketchup to come out. It is a glass bottle. If you drop it, it'll break or it'll break your foot. And the caps, you might drop them or they get goopy and nasty and all of that sort of thing. So with user experience talks about responding to how people interact with your product. So when you see people struggling, now, yes, the glass bottle will get you the ketchup. It will put it on your plate, but it requires some work and some effort, and it can be frustrating sometimes if you don't do it just right. So with that in mind, the user experience people thought, let's focus on anticipating what a user might need to do with this and how can we make that better. So what did they do? First of all, they solved the gravity issue by turning the entire bottle upside down so that the ketchup is always ready and there's no pounding it to come out. Second, they changed the material from glass to plastic. Not only is it lighter weight, but it's squeezable. So all you have to do is flip open the cap, squeeze it, and you get ketchup every time. And it's fast and it's efficient. And it's easy to hold, and it is a much more pleasant overall user experience. So that is what UX, UI is all about. And that is what we talk about when we talk about human-centered design. Now, what is going on in our state of Mississippi right now that involves a human-centered design project. It's been in the news a lot. Ta-da! Flag design. They have retired, finally, this terribly designed flag, and they have a committee of people, half of whom know nothing about design, but at least there are some designers on the committee, and they narrowed it down to 9 designs. And from those 9, they picked the top 5, and that's where we are as of this lecture. They narrowed it down to these 5, and the committee is going to decide out of these 5, there is your new state flag. So everybody has an opinion. Everybody has things that appeal to them for whatever reason. One thing I did find out, if you look, I think 4 out of 5 of these have a gold star, and the one in the top left that has the shield, it is a star, a 5-pointed star, but it's made up out of diamonds. And apparently that is a symbol that is used with the Native American tribes in Mississippi, that they use in a lot of their motifs. So that is a nod to the Native American aspect of our state, the original citizens here. And they are color-wise doing either a red, white, and blue thing for the most part, it looks like. And they have been obligated to use words on this flag, "In God We Trust," and there you go. Now, I'm not going to tell you my opinion on these. I want to hear yours. That's part of your homework, and you will see more on that later. So now I want to talk about things that we use as designers. So these are the things that we're going to be learning about this semester. So now you understand basically about graphic design and why it's important, and human-centered design, which has its own aspects of graphic design involved in it. But these are the tools that all designers are going to use. The first one, and the first thing we're going to be learning about next week, is typography. Typography is the art and technique of arranging type. You can use it on any sort of product, advertisement. It communicates a lot. We're going to be learning about the anatomy of type so that we have our vocabulary and we can talk about typography and understand what it is we're saying when we talk about these things, because we have to think about what the look of our type communicates. When you choose a typeface for a project, you have to think about what that type communicates. And here's what I mean. So this is the typeface you would see for Vogue magazine, and the one on the bottom is the one that they use for Arby's. Now, you may not think very much of these things. You may have noticed it, but not really thought much about it. But they do communicate different things. What if we were to swap them? Very different. The Vogue one's not so bad, but the Arby's one, that just looks bizarre. Here's another example. You can have a nice script for Valentine's, or you can have creepy stalker. It all changes when you change the typeface. So that is why we have to be very careful and mindful about choosing a typeface that communicates what we want it to. We're also going to be learning about color. Color theory will be the next lesson after typography, and we're going to talk about how that ties in with businesses and visual communication. Different colors communicate different things, and different brands are very tied in to very specific shades of those colors. They're brand colors. It's not just any shade of red and yellow, or it's not just any shade of greens and yellow. These are specific brand colors. And even though this isn't me showing you a brand logo, you can look at this and you know who that is, because that's such a well-known shade of color with the box and the white ribbon. This one. Does anybody know when you look at it like that? That's not just any green, that's a specific green. That is known as Starbucks green. These are their brand colors. So we're going to be learning about what color modes you use when you do something in print as opposed to when you do something for the web. After we talk about color, we're going to start talking about layout. We need to know the best way to lay things out because we have to help the viewer quickly see what is important, whether it's a poster for an event or a newspaper. If you are looking at a magazine that has a timeline in it, you need to be able to follow along that timeline. It needs to make sense and it needs to guide the viewer through so you know where to start and keep moving and stop. Tied in with layout is something that's known as hierarchy. We are dealing with a visual hierarchy, which is about arranging elements in a way that implies importance. So when you look at a menu, we have the hierarchy of appetizers, burgers, salads. We have the categories, and then we can go within those categories and look for more specifics. The same thing applies when we're doing resumes. We have to quickly help the viewer see what's important. And a resume is the first project that we are going to be doing in this class. And we are going to be doing it using Adobe Design software. Have any questions? All right, let's talk about homework. Number 1, I need you to watch this video. It's called Seeing Design by GCF Learn. It is about 3.5 minutes, I think. Once you've watched it, I want you to create an email. The subject line should read Homework, Week 1, and I want you to answer 2 questions about that video. But do not send it because you have to go to the next step. You get to do item number 2, which is watch another video. This is a video, it's a TED Talk, it's one of my favorites. It is about city flags and flag design. I think this one you will really enjoy. I love this one. And I think it is a good way to open your eyes to design and the aspects of human-centered design that go into something like flag design. Once you've watched that, I need you to answer these questions, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But don't send it yet because you have to go on to the next one, which is watch the last video. And this one is also about 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes. And it is on YouTube. And then once you're done with that, you will answer questions 7, 8, and 9. So there will be 9 questions for you to answer, all in the email. Make sure you put number 1, answer the question. Number 2, you don't have to write the question, just answer the question. After you have done that, the very last thing you have to do is attach whatever your current resume is to the email, whatever it is, whatever state it's in. If it's your high school one or you've worked on one for another class, whatever it is, I would like you to attach that document to that email that says Homework Week 1. You have until Friday, August the 28th at noon to get those emails to me. All right, let us review. You have to create an email with the subject line Homework Week 1. You have to watch those 3 short videos, answer the questions in the order that I asked them, and be sure you number your answers. You have to attach your resume. I prefer a Word document or a PDF. If you have it in a Google Doc, what you will need to do is go to File, Download, and then select Microsoft Word, and it'll have a docx. You can attach that. So if you have it as a Google Doc, you have to open that Google Doc, say File, Download, Microsoft Word, and then attach that downloaded resume to the email. Send it to me by Friday, August the 28th at noon. All right, and that is it for week 1. I have just put more design knowledge in your head. This is a lot of fun. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. This is very different from a lot of the other classes, but I also happen to think it is one of the more useful classes that you will take here in the Journalism and New Media School. All right, so I hope you guys are hanging in there. Be safe and take care of yourselves, and I will be talking to you again next week. This lecture will be posted on Blackboard as a PDF if you just want to scroll through the slides, or you can watch this PowerPoint again if you need to, anytime. All right, everybody take care, and I will talk to you soon.